I mean, I hate to repeat myself, but it's a very similar game than the last two have been. I think the talent level on both teams is exactly the same. I think they have some outstanding players in certain spots. I actually believe that they, on the western side of the conference, the Western Division, I think they're playing the best football right now of all the teams on the western side. There might be a couple on the other side, the mountain side, that are playing a little bit better than all of us, but in the western side of the conference, I think San Jose State's playing the best football right now. They're 2-1 in league. We're 2-0 in league, so the game's a pretty important game. I think it'll be highly competitive, and I think it'll come down to the end.
For what reason don't you think your team is playing the best in the Western Division of the conference?
Well, I think we've played all right the last 2 weeks, but before that we were very inconsistent and spotty, and they're not. I mean, they lost some games, but they played fairly well. I mean, before they went to Vegas, they were at Auburn. And going into the season, Auburn was supposed to be one of the top teams in the country, and they played Auburn really, really well. Kept it close to the very end, had a chance to win it. They've been more consistent than we have. Now they've alternated two quarterbacks, but the guy they think's the best and the starter's back, and he played the whole UNLV game, and nothing happened to him, so he'll be playing against us.
What are his strengths, that quarterback?
He's very accurate with the football. I think he's completing about 65% of his passes. In the zone read game, he doesn't carry it a lot, but he's got really good speed. He can beat you with his feet. So he's pretty good. And then they've had probably the top offensive threat in our league right now. And Tyler Irvin, their running back, is the number one, I think number one in the nation in all-purpose yards. He's got over 800 yards rushing already. He averages 6 points something per rush. He's the third leading receiver on their team. He runs kickoffs back for him. He returns punts for him. He does it all, and he's having a great year. And then the quarterbacks are very accurate with the football.
The quarterback, Potter, you mentioned his running, and he ran for a touchdown last week. Is he the best runner that you guys will have seen this year? South Alabama's guy was okay, but do you think
he's the best running?
Dangerous?
He's the most dangerous at quarterback that we've played against. Yeah. And he doesn't. I mean, in this era, they don't want to run it too much. But if you close down on the zone read play, if you chase the zone read play down from behind, they can keep the ball and hurt you. I mean, we gave up a third down play last week because the quarterback kept the ball, and we're getting where we're trying to chase the running backs down from behind, and quarterback kept it and got a first down last week. And this quarterback runs it a lot better.
You compare and contrast the running styles of Humphrey and Irvin?
There's more similarities than there are differences. They both can jump cut in a hole and make you miss. They both got really good speed where they can outrun you. They do a lot of things with them like we do with Pump. I mean, they put them out in the slot and throw it to them out there in the slot. They put them in the slot and they bring them back for reverses and fly sweep type deals. I mean, they use them in very, very much the same manner as we use Pumphrey.
Is consistency at quarterback one of the biggest things that have made them step up? In what other areas do you see them?
Well, I think they're a lot more balanced than we are. I mean, I don't have the stats right in front of me, but I think they're throwing for 230 and running for 230. I mean, they're about at 440 yards a game, which puts them in the top probably 35 of the country. They've scored a lot of points. They're more balanced on offense than we are. I don't think they have more talent than we do. I think the talent level is the same. I think on offense, defense, special teams, the talent level is very similar. Just like I told you 2 weeks ago, on our side of this division, all the teams are very equal talent-wise. And whoever gets the momentum going in their favor and gets things rolling is going to win our side. Right now, I think they're playing the best of everybody on our side of the division.
And Rocky, whoever wins this game is in the driver's seat to take the West Division. Does that make this a bigger game?
Makes it a big game because you're right. I mean, whoever wins this game holds their own fate in their own hands. I mean, if they win, they're 3-1, and we're 2-1, and if they don't lose another one, we can't even catch them, even if we don't lose another one. You know, so and then you start hoping for someone to beat them, but it's much better to be on top. I think it's going to be a great game. I think both teams will really play well because both teams know how important the game is.
Rocky, assess your offense at this point. I'll give Kirk credit for this stat, a couple of stats. You guys are on pace to run the ball more than any team in program history.
Really?
And on pace. That's right. Okay. He's the numbers guy.
Okay.
And you're actually on pace to have the second fewest throws in program history. Is that pretty reflective of what you guys want to do? And how much more balanced do you guys need to become to be successful in some of the bigger games?
I think it's close to what we want to do. Obviously, we would like to be more balanced than that. We'd like to throw it a little bit more, maybe run it a little bit less, but we're trying to take advantage of the best players in our program, and we're trying to take advantage of controlling the football and maintaining it and keeping the other offenses off the field as much as possible. And so we're taking advantage of who we think our best players are. Now, obviously, we would, and we did last week, we would like to throw it more consistently. And last week, I think we were 11 out of 15. And last week, we didn't have to throw it more because we had the game semi in control most of the time. I mean, we never fell behind. We were always in the lead. So I'm sure we will have to get more balanced to win some games here as we go.
Because there is that game where a turnover happens or a kickoff return against you or whatever where you fall behind and you need to play some catch up and throw the ball a little more, right?
Mm-hmm. If we're behind and the time's running out, you need to play catch up.
Are you comfortable with where Maxwell is now to be able to rally you guys 80 yards in the last 3 minutes of a game? And
I think that he's much better now than he was 6 weeks ago. Whether he can rally us from behind with 80 yards to go in less than 2 minutes, I think the only way you know that is if it happens. Now, I'm a fan and I watch games. I saw a rally that was an 80-yard touchdown pass or a 75-yard touchdown pass, a one-play rally to tie it up. So it can happen really quick, or you can drive it down the field and score on the last play of the game.
When is that around?
You know, so obviously, I think he's more suited for it now. I think he understands our offense better now. I think he's starting to gain some confidence in some of our receivers, and our receivers are starting to separate from some coverages now better than they did 6 weeks ago. I think we're better on offense right now than we were 6 weeks ago. And I think we're going to have to be more balanced to win the conference championship.
The receivers in particular, Mike has been such a key guy. He kind of disappeared the other night. Eric's certainly stepped up, made some catches. You still need, and it seemed like you guys played a lot more receivers the other night. Anderson had a catch. What's the idea behind just so many guys getting into the movement?
Not any of them have stepped up and shown that they're the guy. So the ones that practice well during the week, they get to play. And the ones that don't practice because of an injury, which is Micah Holder's situation, he's had a strained hamstring for 2 weeks. He hasn't been able to practice very much. So until someone establishes themselves as the key receiver, the guy that's the ball's going to get thrown to a bunch, they're going to alternate time, and the guys that practice the best get to play the most in the game.
How did Lloyd Mills earn his punt return spot back? Curious. I was wondering whether he'd be back or not, and he returned some nice punts for you.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this last week. I mean, if a guy has proved that he's good at something and he makes a mistake or two, does not mean that he's getting put on the shelf. And he proved last year that he was our best punt returner, and this year he has proved that he is our best punt returner. Now he's dropped a couple punts this year that he didn't do last year. But it's just like a wide receiver. If he's your best wide receiver and he drops 2 passes, you don't go sit him on the bench. You get him back out there and throw some more balls at him. If your best running back fumbles a couple of times, you're not going to sit him on the bench. You're going to let him carry the ball some more. So Lloyd's our best punt returner, so we practice and practice and practice. They threw stuff at him last week when he was catching the ball. They threw dummies at him and everything else. We yelled and screamed at him. We did all kinds of things to try to distract him while he was practicing catching punts. So we are trying to help him concentrate on the ball more so he doesn't fumble it. But obviously when he has the ball in his hands, he makes things happen. That helps our team win.
Given what San Jose State has been able to do thus far on offense, you're going to be without Randy Ricks for a little while, and his emergence has been kind of hard to ignore. How big a void is that going to leave for you?
Well, I mean, anytime you lose, especially in a case where you have a junior college player that has trouble getting used to the speed of the game for 4 weeks, and then for the 5th and 6th weeks, he starts showing what kind of ability he has and starts understanding your defense and understands where he's supposed to be and doing it well. That's a terrible thing to happen to a young guy. And then obviously he was starting to play really well for us as a team, so it really hurts the team that he can't be out there. I mean, freshmen go through the same thing, or when they first start playing, everybody goes through the same thing, and JC guys do too. And he was just starting to play really, really well, and now he's hurt and can't play. So that hurts our defensive team. I mean, we're not talking about Dakota Turner either. He's done for probably the season. And Dakota Turner is the first defensive lineman that would go into the game. He's the first alternate in there, and I think he's 3rd on the team in tackles for defensive linemen. I mean, he was playing really, really well. And so that hurts your depth there too.
Players that are coming back off suspension, is this like it is their first game of the season, but have they had, can you just catch us up a little bit on what they were or weren't able to do, or just how new to this year's team they are starting Saturday? Like Darryl and Fred and some of the others?
I think it'll be interesting to see how they play. Because of the way we run our program, if you've been suspended for one reason or another, you're on the scout team. You don't practice with the guys that are going to play in the game because you've hurt by your actions, you've hurt the whole football team. So they've been on the scout team. In fact, last week we were going to let them practice with the travel squad, and none of the coaches wanted them to. I mean, the first 5 weeks was my choice. They were not practicing with the travel squad. Last week I was going to let them practice with the travel squad, and the rest of the coaches didn't think that was a good idea. And I truly support that idea. I mean, you've hurt the entire football team by your actions. So there's no reason to pat you on the back for doing it. Well, this week they're practicing. All 4 of those guys are practicing with the travel squad. How well they play is yet to be seen. If they practice really well, they'll play a lot. If they don't practice very well, you won't see them in the game. Simple as that. 3 of them, one of them, Fred Malafano, his chances of playing were helped by Randy Ricks getting hurt. That's a terrible reason for it, but that's what happened. The 2 defensive backs will probably help us on special teams a lot, but they're not going to play because our secondary is playing pretty good. Offensive lineman, Darrell Green was our best returning offensive lineman. He hasn't practiced with the travel squad all year. He just started yesterday. So how much he plays is determined on how he practices, how well he does in practice.
How did those guys go about making things right with their teammates, or is that still to be done by their performance on the field?
Oh, I don't. I'm not sure they have any problems with their teammates. It's a different era. I mean, I don't think it's right that they come back and they're welcomed back, though. And I'm not sure a teammate that he replaced would actually verbalize that he was upset about it, but because they don't do that now. But I would bet deep down he'd be very upset about it. So they come back as guys earning their spot again. They have to earn their right to play. That's why if they practice well, they'll play. If they don't practice well, they won't play. They have to earn their spot back.
But did they stand before the team and say anything about, what they had done?
No, that happened a long, long time ago. We use them as examples to the other guys to hopefully prevent other guys from making the same mistake, but that doesn't always work either. And I think maybe when I was their age, I forgave them. I think they were forgiven really quick, if that makes sense.
Does Fred have, given Randy's being out, does Fred have a pretty significant chance of getting some time? And where did you see him, Rocky, at the end of last season?
I would have guessed he would have competed to be that starting linebacker that we use at the line of scrimmage and off the line of scrimmage at different times. I would guess he would have had a chance to compete for that starting job. Right now he's third string. Okay, because the other two guys have played all year and practiced all year, so they know what we're doing, and he should know what we're doing because he's been in the program for a while. But those guys have been practicing, and they know exactly what the assignments are. You can't play if you make too many assignment errors.
So Jay Henderson's the backup to Dunn.
Jay Henderson is the backup to Dunn, yeah.
Anyway, we can announce that DJ still has a high ankle sprain and he's kind of questionable for the game.
If you would like to do that, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. We can do that. I'm all for it. No, he practiced yesterday.
I mean, it was an unbelievable performance for a guy that everybody expected to be out for a few weeks.
And including me.
Yeah.
From what I was told by the doctors and trainers, I figured he'd be out for 2 to 3 weeks. So either they misjudged the severity of the injury or he's one of those guys that heals a lot faster than most. Because he looked 100% at game time. He looked 100% to me.
How close to game time did you actually decide, yes, I am going to start him?
After practice.
Did you go through all the pregame warm-ups and things before?
No, after practice on Thursday, when he went full speed in practice on Thursday, we met with the doctors and the trainers and asked, do you have any concerns with him playing? And they all said nope. And so we said, okay, he's starting after Thursday's practice.
Was there any thought of just limiting his carries at all, just in case? Or?
Now, when they gave him full clearance, there wasn't. If they said, and we do this with some guys, if they said, well, he can go 10 to 20 plays, we think he can make 10 to 20 plays, well, then he plays 10 to 20 plays. They gave him a full clearance after Thursday night practice.
I mean, the irony was that I think he carried more in that game than he ever had in any game before. That was his all-time.
Are you trying to you want me to say we were just kidding? He wasn't really hurt?
No, I want him to still be hurt so he keeps playing.
Oh, I didn't see any ill effects from the number of carries he took either.
Do you think those runs, Rocky, were fairly unique to him? And there was some really nice blocking on a couple of those. The first one in particular had a big hole. Do you think Chase or Stamps or Penny?
Do I think they would have scored?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
I think they would have had a chance to score, but it wouldn't have looked as easy. I mean, and we're playing a guy just like that in Tyler Irvin this week. I mean, Pumphrey on that first one, they did a great job of blocking. He got one-on-one on the corner, and the corner didn't lay a hand on him because he had enough room in there to make the guy miss. This Tyler Irvin does the same thing. If you give him too much room, he makes that one-on-one tackle guy miss every time.
Since these guys practice against Pumphrey, should that help them against her?
The last time we actually practiced against Pumphrey where he actually could get hit was spring practice. So I don't know if that carries over from spring practice till now. I'm guessing not. And whenever we go ones-on-ones in practice now, Pumphrey's not in there. And that's been since the first day of fall camp.
Do you, as a defensive coordinator, look forward more to run first, run-oriented teams or pass-oriented teams?
I don't have any particular feeling either way. The only feeling I have as defensive coordinators is I want them to score a bunch of points on offense because that makes it a lot easier to be the defensive coordinator. If you're ahead by 2 or 3 touchdowns, it's really easy to call defenses. When you're behind or ahead by 3, it's really hard to call defenses because you don't know whether to take the chance to try to cause a turnover or go after them to stop them or make them inch it down the field. But if you're ahead by 3 touchdowns, boy, it's nice. It's fun. It's fun calling defenses if you're ahead by 3 touchdowns.
Are you happy with the way the team has played with the lead in these last 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, I was real happy about how we handled it on Saturday night when we fumbled the ball. I don't remember the exact score, 21-7, and we fumbled the ball on a crossing route. We caught the pass and then fumbled the ball, and they were inside our 30-yard line. And with the help of about 6 penalties, it was probably 3. It seemed like 15 penalties. They eventually scored, and it was 21-14, and they had all the momentum. And it didn't seem like it bothered us one bit. It seemed like we went out and got a couple first downs. They got the ball. We stopped them. It was 3 and out, and everything was fine once again. And I don't think we would have responded that way earlier or we did not respond that way earlier in the year.
Anything else for Coach?
Rocky, the win against Hawaii was your 100th career win. Did you do anything special to celebrate that?
No. I mean, I wouldn't have known except that they told me that I was one away, or I wouldn't even have known. So that's just that's a sign of being around a long time.
Weren't they talking about cake after the game or something? Did they have a cake for you?
I think that was our radio guy just mentioned about having a piece of cake or something, you know.
I didn't see any cake, so.
Kind of recreation.
Oh, Ello not telling the full story?
No, I appreciated his thoughts about it, though. You know that there should have been some cake. That was the emphasis he.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah, and I appreciate his thought on that. I would have rather had something else, but